The last shift. It was almost 12:45 a.m. when I finally stepped out of McDonald's. The night shift had drained me. The smell of frying oil still clung to my uniform, and my eyes burned from staring at the fryer's golden glow all evening. The parking lot was empty. Even the street dogs were gone. The world felt too quiet. The hum of traffic that usually echoed from the main road had vanished. The wind, too, was oddly still, thick, heavy, as if the whole city was holding its breath. I zipped up my jacket and started walking home, my sneakers scraping softly against the pavement. My apartment wasn't far, just a 10-minute walk through a narrow road lined with small shops and old lampposts. But tonight, the road looked different. Most of the lights were dead. The few that worked flickered, spilling weak yellow halos on the cracked asphalt. Shadows danced between them, stretching and twisting as if they were alive. Halfway through the road, I noticed her. A girl, maybe in her 20s, walking a few meters ahead of me. She wore a long white dress that brushed against the wet ground, her black hair hanging straight down her back. She didn't look left or right, just walked slowly like she was gliding rather than stepping. At first, I thought she was just another late commuter, but something felt off. Her movement was too smooth. And even though the wind had stopped completely, her hair kept swaying like invisible fingers were brushing through it. Slowed down. My heart started to beat a little faster. "Hey!" I almost called out, but stopped myself. Something deep inside told me not to. I looked away for a second to check my phone, and when I lifted my head again, she was gone. Vanished. There was nowhere she could have turned. The road was empty on both sides, only walls and closed shops. A chill ran down my spine. I tried to laugh it off. Maybe she turned fast. Maybe there's a lane I didn't notice. But the silence around me made it worse. My own footsteps sounded too loud, echoing back like there were two people walking, me, and someone just behind me. That's when I saw the dustbin. It was toppled over near the sidewalk, a huge metal one. Garbage was scattered everywhere. Food, paper, broken glass, and yet there was something stranger. A swarm of flies hovered around it, thick and loud. But when I stepped closer, I realized something wrong. The flies weren't moving. They were just floating, circling slowly like clockwork. No buzzing sound, no chaos. Only an eerie stillness. The smell hit me next. Rotten meat. Burnt plastic. Something metallic like blood. I gagged and stepped back. My chest felt tight. Why would anyone dump trash here like this? This road was always clean. As I turned away, a flashlight beam cut through the dark. A security guard, maybe a police constable, was walking toward me. His boots crunched the gravel, and his face looked pale in the flickering light. "Hey, what are you doing here so late?" he asked sharply. I swallowed. I work at McDonald's, sir. Just finished my shift. I'm new here." His eyes narrowed. "You felt anything strange on this road?" My stomach nodded. "Strange," I repeated, pretending to laugh. "No, just quiet." He stared for a few seconds, then said in a low voice, "People say they see things here, especially after midnight. You should take the main road next time." Before I could ask more, he looked toward the dustbin and frowned. His flashlight beam passed over it, and I swear for a moment I saw something inside. Something pale, like the curve of a shoulder, or a face. The guard turned to me, his voice suddenly tense. "Go home. Don't stop anywhere. And don't come out at this hour again." I nodded, heart pounding. My palms were sweaty. As I walked away, I looked over my shoulder one last time. The guard was still standing near the trash can, but his light was now pointed down, and I thought I saw him take a slow, nervous step back. The road stretched out ahead, empty and silent. My footsteps echoed in the distance, and for just a second, between the wind and my heartbeat, I heard another pair of shoes walking in sync with mine. blick, 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 heels, just behind me. I didn't dare turn around. I just walked faster. By the time I reached my building, the street behind me had fallen completely silent again. I didn't turn around, not once. I just kept walking until the heavy gate of my apartment clicked shut behind me. Inside, everything looked ordinary, too ordinary. The narrow hallway smelled faintly of detergent and something sour, maybe from someone's dinner hours ago. A single bulb flickered above the stairs. I climbed up to the second floor, breathing hard, still trying to convince myself that the sound of those heels was my imagination. Just stress, just tiredness. My apartment door creaked when I unlocked it. I stepped in, flicked the switch, and nothing happened. Darkness. Power was out again. It wasn't unusual here. The whole neighborhood had bad wiring. Still, the silence in that darkness felt thicker than usual. I could almost hear it, the weight of the quiet pressing down on the walls. I used my phone's flashlight, moving through the living room. Everything looked normal. Sofa, table, dishes in the sink. But something felt off, like someone had been there while I was gone. The air felt disturbed. The smell was faintly smoky and sweet. I went to the window to get some fresh air. Just then, the lights flickered back on, buzzing faintly like a sigh of relief from the building itself. I exhaled. Finally. I tossed my bag on the couch and went to wash my face. I bent over the sink, turned on the tap. The water gurgled and spat out brown for a second before running clear. When I looked up into the mirror, my heart skipped. Behind me, just for a blink, I saw a silhouette near the window. Watching. I spun around. Nothing. Just the curtains swaying gently. Get a grip, I whispered to myself. You're just tired. But as I turned back toward my bedroom, a sharp crash exploded from behind me. Glass breaking. Froze. That wasn't the mirror. Came from the back window near the kitchen. I crept closer, pulse hammering in my throat. Shards of glass glittered on the floor, reflecting the faint orange glow of the streetlight outside. A section of the window pane was smashed inward, like someone had punched it from outside. The curtain fluttered in the cold wind. I looked down and saw faint footprints, leading away from the window across my kitchen floor. My phone slipped from my hand. The clatter echoed far too loudly in that tiny apartment. Then came the sound that truly froze me. Not from the main door. From the back door. The one near the balcony, the one nobody used. It was soft at first, almost polite. Then again louder. My mouth went dry. I couldn't move. The knocking stopped. For a full minute, there was silence so deep that I could hear my pulse roaring in my ears. Then faintly a whisper. Open it. I stumbled backward, heart pounding, and locked myself in the bathroom. The small space felt suffocating, but at least it had a solid door. I crouched against the tiles, listening, every nerve on fire. The wind outside whistled through the broken glass, making a low, moaning sound that filled the room. Then footsteps, low, deliberate, crossing the living room. Tap tap. They stopped just outside the bathroom. My breath hitched. A moment later, the doorknob moved. Once. Then scratch, scratch. Fingernails sliding down the wood. The sound was so close I could feel the vibration in my spine. I clutched my phone and dialed the police with shaking fingers. My whisper barely made it out. Someone's in my apartment. The operator's calm voice came through, distorted and distant. Stay quiet. Stay inside. Officers are on the way. I didn't answer, couldn't. Because at that exact moment, something on the other side of the door whispered my name. Rhea Hill. The voice was breathy, wrong, like air passing through broken glass. My throat tightened. I pressed my back to the wall. Then silence again. The knob stilled. The scratching stopped. I waited, counting the seconds. 1 minute. Nothing. Then, just as I dared to breathe, A sudden loud bang. The bathroom door shook like someone had slammed into it. I screamed. The sound of high heels clacked on the tiles outside. One step. Another. Closer. And quiet. The next thing I heard wasn't footsteps. It was the faint siren of a police car outside. And in that instant, the presence outside my bathroom door vanished. No footsteps. No voice. Just gone. When I finally opened the door, the lights were flickering again. The window was still shattered. The footprints half faded. Police officer was knocking at my main door. When I opened it, he stared at my face, pale and shaking, and asked, "Did you see her?" And blinked. "Who?" "The woman in white," he said quietly. "We've had reports before. Same road. Same time. You're lucky you're alive." The police stayed for an hour that night. They checked every corner, every window, every hallway light. But there was nothing. No signs of forced entry, no footprints, nothing to prove what I saw was real. Before leaving, one officer, the same one who had asked if I'd seen her, put a hand on my shoulder. "Keep your doors locked," he said quietly. "And whatever happens if you hear knocking again, don't open it." I didn't sleep that night. Even after they left, I sat on the couch, staring at the broken window. Every sound, the hum of the fridge, the creak of the pipes, made me flinch. The city outside was silent until dawn. By morning, I tried convincing myself it was over. Maybe I imagined it all. But deep inside, something felt unfinished, like the story hadn't ended yet. The next day crawled by slowly. I didn't go to work. By the time the sun dipped below the skyline, I was already tense. I locked every door, checked every latch, left all the lights on. Still, when the clock hit 12:30 a.m., the air changed. Got colder, unnaturally cold. My breath fogged up in front of me. And then I heard it. Exactly like before. This time from the front door. Harder. Louder. My stomach twisted. I didn't move. Then from the back window, the one that was broken the previous night, came a low, scraping sound like nails dragging across glass. Scratch, scratch. I backed away, heart hammering so hard I could barely breathe. I grabbed my phone and dialed the police again. My hands were shaking. "Please. She's back. She's at my door," shouted. But before the operator could reply, the line went dead. Just a burst of static. Then came the whisper. From everywhere. "Why did you follow me?" I turned around and froze. Standing in the middle of my living room was the girl in white. Her skin was pale gray, her eyes hollow, empty sockets that still somehow stared. Her mouth curved into something that wasn't a smile, more like a tear across her face. And she was dripping wet like she had just crawled out of something. I stumbled backward. My elbow hit a shelf. A picture frame crashed to the floor. She moved closer. Her heels clicked softly against the tile, that same rhythm I'd heard on the road. Blick, blick, blick. Bolted. I ran toward the back window, trying to climb out. Anything to escape. The broken glass tore at my hands, but I didn't care. I jumped down onto the alley behind my building and hit the ground hard. My ankle screamed in pain, but I got up and ran. The night was freezing, and the streets were empty again. Behind me, I could hear her footsteps. Faster now, echoing off the buildings. I turned a corner and nearly fell over a trash bin, the same one I had seen 2 nights before. It was back upright now, but it reeked of decay. Flies hovered in the air, thick as smoke. And then I saw her again, coming toward me. Her white dress glowed faintly in the dark, her hands twitching. Her eyes caught the dim light and reflected it like mirrors. I stumbled back, hand shaking. I felt my pocket, my lighter. It was the same cheap one I used at work. She whispered again, voice echoing from all directions. "You shouldn't have looked at me." The flies began swarming around her face, covering it. The air filled with their angry buzzing. My instincts took over. I flicked the lighter, the tiny flame trembling in the cold wind. She stepped closer. One step. Closer. Until I could smell the rot in her breath. I took a deep breath and threw the lighter straight at her. It hit her chest, and fire erupted like a burst of orange lightning. She screamed. Not a human scream, a high-pitched wail that made the streetlights flicker. The fire spread up her arms, her hair igniting like dry grass. The swarm of flies burst outward, spiraling into the night. I fell to my knees, covering my ears. At that exact moment, a police siren wailed in the distance. The same officer from before jumped out of his car, shouting something I couldn't hear. The flames rose higher, and then, just as suddenly, collapsed inward. When they reached her face, she was gone. No ash, no smoke, just emptiness. Aftermath. The police checked the area. They found burn marks on the ground, but no body. The officer looked shaken. "You're lucky," he muttered. "You're the only one who's ever walked away." I nodded numbly, unable to speak. He handed me my lighter. It was lying near the trash bin, completely untouched, not even warm. Weeks later, I left that apartment 2 days later, moved across town, started working day shifts only. For a while, things felt normal again. Until one rainy night, while locking my new place, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A trash bin across the street tipped over, flies buzzing lazily around it. And in the reflection of the window beside it, a faint outline of a girl in white, standing perfectly still. Her face was hidden by her hair, but her reflection was smiling. Then, faintly, through the sound of rain, came that familiar sound. Blick, blick, blick. The sound of heels. Growing closer. Some things you escape only once. End.